Yo,
Hey, there we go.
so okay, I gotta mute that. That's gonna fucking trip me out. Okay, we're officially on YouTube. Hang on a second. Now I gotta copy this link so I can post it on. I hope that didn't. Well, whatever. It is what it is. The thing that everybody would have been signed up for. We'll see if anybody actually logs in now.
Yeah,
That's my bad.
it should pop up though. These guys.
It's live now.
Yeah, no, it's. I can see it. I'm on the.
You're on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, just so I can see the comments for if people are going to ask questions or whatever, and
Oh yeah, perfect.
try to fumble. Oh yeah, or so you're on it too now. Just
Yeah.
and fumble through some answers, I guess, right?
Yeah. What I got to figure out is how to schedule this for later so that the link works. Okay, home, create, camera, create. Okay, we got a few people logged in now. Apologies
Sweet.
for the delay, guys. Okay, I'm just going to post this link to Instagram. Okay, that's done. Now,
It's always the complicated things that seem to go easy, and then the simple things on with technology seem to always
yeah.
catch you up.
Well, and that's the thing. I had a thought about it for 2 seconds, like as if I didn't, you know. So now, how do I invite you to the live stream? Can you go to me on Instagram and ask to join the live stream?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we had a little bit of a hiccup.
There we go. So I'm in the live stream now.
So can you like ask to join or something like that? So you can actually like participate.
Oh, because I'm not on the.
Wait a second, maybe I can do this. Invite to join. Yeah, perfect. JOH. Johnston Outdoors.
Oh, there you go. I'm just going to use my phone rather than the computer.
No, it's going to use both.
Oh, will it? Okay. Cool.
So we just have to mute that.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
There, because otherwise, what happened? What I was afraid of was going to happen was that I was going to stream. I'm going to have to shut this screen. I'll just leave the chat up because if I look at that YouTube thing of us, I'm just going to trip me out. If I streamed directly to Instagram, it was only going to be my face and nobody was going to hear you on IG. So this way, theoretically, everybody should have us on IG and everybody should have us on YouTube.
Cool.
Now, the only issue I'm having is I can hear you on my phone, and that's going to trip me up. Okay. Sorry for the delay, guys. That's recording. That's good. That's good. Apologies for the delay. We had a little bit of an issue getting the streaming software set up. This is my first time having a guest on the live podcast, but we're here now. Greg, what's going on, man?
Nothing, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, man. So, for those of you curious, if you want to watch this on YouTube instead of Instagram, go to the last story in my feed and I put a link. The old link wouldn't have worked because basically, yeah, I'm not going to get into all the bullshit. We had to use a different link, so we used a different link. So, you can either watch on Instagram, you can watch on YouTube. Don't give a shit. If you got any questions, if you throw them up in the Instagram, one of us will try and take note. Otherwise, you can also put it up on the YouTube feed, and I probably have a better chance of seeing it there. But anyways, so what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. It's home
Kids
from
in
work,
bed?
getting the kid to bed. Yeah, the wife's getting the kid to bed now. Yeah,
Yeah, sweet.
that's awesome. Yeah. I saw that you donated your sleeping bag to the Wild Sheep Foundation, the live auction, the silent auction, I guess.
That was like probably one of the slickest segues I've ever seen in podcasting history. So the funny thing is, I wrote myself like a little list of shit that I wanted it to talk about, and so this is going to work out. This is going to work out perfect. So here's what I can do. I can go to the Wild Sheep Society of BC. So here's what you do. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to bring in. So can you see my screen all right, Greg?
Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah, you're good.
So we'll go to. I've never been here before. Do you know? It's the Wild. They passed me the link directly. I'm assuming you'll be able to find it off their site,
I
right?
think you can. I went through Facebook, but yeah, there's some good stuff on there. I know a couple of people that bought stuff last year, and it was they got a good deal and they were happy with it. And
Yeah, they have some really good deals. I don't see it here under events. I see the Wild Sheep raffles, but that's not what it is, right? And it's not the conservation raffle. It's not this. Salute to Conservation fundraiser.
that might be it. Hmm.
No.
No.
They passed me a link. What was it called? Wild Sheep Society auction. Yeah.
There it is.
Okay, so here we go. So what you do is you go to wssbc.onlinehuntingauctions.com. And if you're an idiot like me, if you just go to Google and type in Wild Sheep Society auction and go to this first link, and then you're going to get there's two of them here. I don't know what the difference is between the two. But if we go to this first one, yeah, and there's just a bunch of stuff here. And there's tons of good stuff. And it's like some of it is still super, like some of the low bids are pretty low. Like I put up base, I wonder if we can find it here. It was down a ways and they've got my logo on it, so it should stand.
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff too. So,
and you could, maybe it was this one here.
yeah, it's with this one for sure.
It is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Shit. Oh yeah, page 2. I was down a little ways, I know that. Here it is.
There it is right there.
Okay, so sweet, somebody else put a bid in. Awesome. So what I did was Sitka was kind enough to give me an Aerolite sleeping bag to test out. And so when Wild Sheep Society hit me up and they wanted some stuff for donation, I thought this would be a really good opportunity. So I gave them the sleeping bag, and what I'm also doing is I'm throwing in a t-shirt, a hat, both hats, bumper sticker, and a logo sticker. So basically, if you go on my website, you can have one of everything that's on the website. And the sleeping bag is basically brand new. I used it for a single 6-day hunt, and that's it. It didn't get wrecked in any way, shape, or form. It's in beautiful shape. It retails for $400 US, and that doesn't count tax and that doesn't count shipping. So if you want to get this bag to Canada, it'd be $600 at the least. So, and the current bid on it's only $250. So it's like a hell of a deal. And I don't care. You don't have to buy this bag. You can come on here and there's lots of other, like this is a pretty good deal for the,
That's a good deal, yeah, for sure.
yeah, we both have this bipod, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, I got the same one. I had to get my legs.
You had to get yours fixed, didn't you?
Yeah, my legs came apart internally. Like they didn't. I guess they just missed the lock seal on it. And
Yeah.
then they were awesome though. I emailed them. They sent me new legs, and then they sent me like a 35% discount code too. So that was
No
pretty sweet.
shit.
Yeah, they were awesome. Yeah,
I like when companies do that because it's like, listen, you fixed you fixed the screw up, which I'm grateful for, but like, can we admit here that you did screw up? Like, it's a pain in the ass, especially to deal with shipping and all the other.
especially from Europe too, right?
Oh
So it
man,
was
it's
like
the
it took a
worst.
while, but they were. You know what? Actually, hunting companies in general are probably the best with customer service. I think I've had like maybe one or two things ever with any company with hunting that they haven't been completely awesome if something was to go wrong or anything like that. So
Yeah, I agree. And so you know what I did was because I just bought this new rifle, and I didn't want to spend another $400 on another bipod. And the new rifle has a Picatinny rail for bipod mounting. So all I did for an extra $50 is I got the Picatinny rail attachment from Spartan, and now it's mounted on the new rifle, and now I
nice.
can just swap the bipod back and forth between rifles because I don't think I'm ever going to be in a situation. I'm probably going to sell that other rifle anyways, and I'm like, you'd never get your money back. Like spending $400 on an upgrade for a bipod, like maybe you get an extra $200 when you go to sell it. Like,
Yeah,
so
no,
it
I
just
got the adapter for both my rifles too, and it's awesome because you
it's
just swap them
perfect,
out.
right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was funny because somebody asked me the other day, they're like, how is that thing? Does it collapse when it collapses down? And I'm like, it doesn't collapse down. It comes right off. You don't have to worry about it at all.
yeah.
Okay, so one quick more shout out. So basically just Google Wild Sheep Society auction. That's going to take you to the auction page. There's two groups, there's two different auctions. There's tons of stuff. There's like pictures and Sitka gear, and there's like binoculars. There's I saw Ray Weens put up who's my taxidermist. Well, he's not my taxidermist, but he's the taxidermist I use. He does phenomenal shit. And he this is funny. Somebody asked about gloves tonight, and I'm gonna bring these exact gloves up later on. And $60 for these gloves is insane.
Yeah, it's a steal.
I saw Ray Weens put a like a, what do you call it? Like a voucher or whatever up here. So yeah, sweet. There we go. That's enough. So yeah, go to Wild Sheep Society, support everybody.
Funny enough, I won one of those calendars that Ray Weens with Nathan French's photography in it.
I saw you.
Yeah, so it was
Didn't you
awesome.
win that?
Yeah, yeah, I won it, and he sent it to me like within like a couple weeks, and I got it up in my kitchen. It's awesome. Yeah, there's some great pictures in it too. So
That's badass.
yeah,
Okay, sweet. So I noticed the numbers starting to go up a little bit on YouTube. So I think some of the people have got the link. We'll probably be a little bit behind here tonight, just because it'll take people a while to figure out what's going on. Because
no rush.
yeah, the way I set it up before, I think it like pre-populates it in people's feed or whatever. Anyways, not a big deal. Okay, so I got a couple things we want to talk about tonight, but first things first is I got to do a little bit of a rant. So I was at the gym, and this is something I see all the time. I see people put the treadmills on a high incline, and then they hang on.
For dear life.
Yeah, and I'm always like, what the fuck is it? Like, what is your brain telling you right now that you think you're doing? Like, where in that brain of yours does this seem like a good idea to you? Like, are you unaware of the general laws of physics and the fact that you're just like, equal and opposite force, and you're kind of like, anyways, so I made this like little post about it, and I was trying to figure out like, and just to clarify for everybody, if you put the treadmill on a super high incline and then hang on so you don't slide off the back, you are just negating the extra effort required by hanging on, and you're not doing anything additional for yourself. So you might as well just put the thing flat and let go, because those two situations are identical. Only one, you look like a moron, and one, you don't. but I started thinking to myself, like, okay, well, what is it though? Like, there's got to be a reason that people would do this. And I think what it is, and this is why I think it's an interesting topic for discussion, is it's like the illusion of effort. I think there are things that we do that allow us to convince ourselves we're like working harder than we really are. And so I think that's why people are doing this. They crank it up to 15. They don't really want to get on the treadmill, but they're like, well, if I crank it up to 15 and I hang on to this thing and do this walk and I make it through 10 minutes, then it'll actually be, some type of like beneficial exercise. And so all I really wanted to say to people is like, be aware of when you are being dishonest with yourself about the amount of effort that you're actually putting forward, because I think we can trick ourselves pretty easily and not be, working as hard as we think we are. So anyways, just don't hang on a fucking treadmill.
It makes sense. So the things you see nowadays in the gym, though, with like even the young guys, like if I shouldn't say young guys, just people in general with like the poor form and stuff, it's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing, right? Like you're trying to do something more difficult than what you possibly can do.
It's like guys bouncing in the hole in a squat.
Yeah,
It's like, guys, I'm telling you, you think yes, technically you are moving more weight from A to B, but you are not doing yourself any additional favors. Like, you're not building any extra muscle, you're not building any extra strength. Like, a slow and controlled rep beats the shit out of just bouncing out of the hole any day of the week. So I think that's another.
You don't like the old lower back lean for bicep curls there, Jay?
Okay, so this is the other one. The other one is like doing a squat and sticking your ass way up in the air and then hinging up with your back. So you have this like zigzag motion. So they come all the way down, and then they come up at the hips, and then they lift the bar up with their upper back like a
Lever.
fucking crane unhinging itself or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, I could go on and on about this. I spend too much time at the gym, so I could go on and on about this shit all night, but I won't bother. Let's start the topic, because it's been a bit of a shit show getting going here tonight. Let's start with a bit of a positive spin on things. So, how do I? Now I want to read what somebody said. Okay, I'll give you that. If you've got money on football and you can't pay attention, you're allowed to hang on to the bar. The other time I hang on to the bar is when I'm drinking water, because I don't want to slide off the back of the fucking treadmill. Oh, look at this. Greg getting some love. You're a mentor, buddy.
Oh, I wish.
Okay, we're going to start it out with some positivity. So I shot you a little message beforehand, so I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. So I just did this podcast with Dan Staten, who's also known as Elk Shape on Instagram. And he said something during that podcast that was really inspiring to me, because I'm always hung up on like, listen, man, my goal is to go out here and kill. And anything less than a dead animal is a failure. And you just need to like suck that up and be realistic with yourself. But I'm trying to soften up on that stance a little bit, because I don't think it's beneficial to be that black and white about it. And some of the things he said really landed for me, as far as like, there's other wins to be had in the season. And that really got me thinking. And what I wanted to do, because we're coming into preseason now, okay? February's basically over. We're into March. We basically have 2 more months, and then, or was it April 1st Bears open, or May 1st?
April. I think it's April 1st. Yeah.
It's April 1st, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because then it goes to
yeah.
June for we get 2 months of Spring Bear,
Yeah.
April and May. No, we get June too.
No, you get June. It's June 31st.
Yeah, so it's 3 months of Spring Bear.
Yeah, it's 3 months. Yeah.
Right. So Spring Bear is opening just around the corner. So we're like, I'm saying we're like coming out of off season and into preseason. So like, now is when I like start to get my mind right for like, what's the goal for the season? What kind of things do I want to achieve? So I wanted to start this little campaign, or whatever, just this idea I had called 3 Small Wins. And so the idea would be go into the season with 3 goals that you're looking to achieve, and there's only a couple rules. 1, it can't be a dead animal, because a lot of success surrounding a dead animal is out of our control. And I want these goals or these wins to be something that is within our control. So it can't be, I'm going to kill a 6-point. Now, me and Greg did have a conversation, and I think, let's say, hypothetically, your goal was to kill a 4-point mule deer. I think you could reframe the goal to say, I will not pull the trigger or loose an arrow on anything less than a 4-point, because that's something that is totally within our control. And if you got to all the way to the end of the season and you saw a dozen 3-points and you never pulled the trigger on that because you said you were going to hold out for a mature buck, and you held to that, you committed to your goal, then that to me is achieving that goal. And that is all kind of within your power. So it can't be a dead animal. The goal can't be a dead animal. And it has to be something that you've never done before. Okay?
Yeah, I knew I broke the rules right after the first message I sent you. I was like, yeah, but what about this, Jay? What about this?
But that's everybody's goal. And I get it. And I'm not saying you can't have that goal too. And I do have, I have animal-based goals, 1,000%. And I think that's totally cool. But this would be our attempt at reframing the season so that if you get to the end of the season and you didn't achieve your animal-based goal, you can still look back and say, but I have, and maybe we don't even get all 3. Maybe we only get 2 of the 3, but we've got these other goals. So I'll share mine and I'll give a little spiel, and then I'll toss it over to you and you can share yours. And then what I would love to hear from people, and I want to share these every week. So I don't care if you DM them to me. I don't care if you write them in a story and then tag me on the post. I don't care if you send me an email, jay@mindfulhunter.com, but send me your 3 wins, your 3 small wins, or your 3 small goals. What do you think is a better hashtag, 3 small wins or 3 small goals?
3 small wins is better, I think.
Okay.
In my opinion. I like that.
3, and I want to keep small in there because I don't think they have to be like these gigantic epic things. The goal is just to do something you've never done before. So we're going to call it, yo, what's up, Luke? We're going to call it 3 small wins. So hashtag it 3 small wins. Send them to me. And what I'll do each week is I'm going to share people's wins. And then hopefully at the end of the season, everybody can check in and let me know which of your wins you were able to achieve. And maybe at the end of the season, we'll give some shit away, or on one of these live podcasts, everybody can say what they got. Okay. So the big one for me is my longest solo hunt. So I'm going in 14 days for stone sheep solo, and 7 days up till now is the longest I've ever gone. And that I've had longer solo hunts, but not contiguous. I've come out to the truck to get food or fuel. I'm talking uninterrupted in the bush nonstop. So small win number 1, longest solo hunt. Small win number 2, using a raft on a hunt. I've never done that before. And then small win number 3 is taking someone hunting that has never been hunting before. And in this particular case, it's going to be my brother. So as long as everything goes right, and actually I might double dip on that one because there's a couple dudes who I'd like to take spring bear hunting, even if it's just for a day hunt. But the big one for me is my brother. He's never been hunting before. And as long as everything goes okay with the non-resident tags, I'm going to be taking my brother and my dad caribou hunting at a Dease Lake in in September. So those are my 3 small wins. Longest solo hunt, first time using a pack raft on a hunt, and taking a non-hunter on their first hunt.
For your pack raft, are you talking like alpaca, like a backpack raft? Yeah.
Yeah, I just bought an Explorer 42, which is their smallest kind of semi-tandem. And the reason I did it is that I take my daughter kind of just like truck camping to all these
Yeah.
little lakes, around Harrison. And they always have these cool little lakes. And I see people like pop up with like kayaks and canoes and stuff. And we're always just swimming some for shore. And as soon as I started looking at this raft, I was like, oh shit, this would be perfect. Because I could bring a couple fishing rods and then I can,
Totally.
and it also helps to sell with the wife, right? Because it's
Of
like,
course.
no, I bought the raft for the daughter. This is for her. It just happens that it's also useful for sheep hunting. But the real purpose is for the 6-year-old child in the family.
Of course.
She needs a $1,500 rubber boat.
Kids are expensive, man.
They're really expensive. I mean, if you love them, you can't hold back, man.
No, safety first, too.
Safety first.
No, that's awesome. I like the. I know you mentioned on. I think it was maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago on one of your podcasts about the. You're going to take some new hunters out for spring bear, which is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. That'd be fun.
I think I've been a bit. I don't think I've pulled my weight in that regard. I think I've been really focused kind of on my own shit, and I don't. I think I help people with the podcast, but I think there's a difference between indirectly just putting out information, and I'm a bit of an introvert. I tend to not like people for the most part. So I got to get out of my comfort zone. I got to grab somebody by the hand and be like, let's go try to kill something.
Nice. Have you decided on your sheep hunt? Are you flying in or driving, or I don't know if you mentioned it before?
Yeah, man. I got the lake picked. I got the plane booked. I got the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
Flying in out of Muncho. And that was the reason for the raft. I started looking, and I'm not doing like a rafting sheep hunt. Some people get like dropped off at a headwater and then have this whole circuit planned. My goal is just that I was looking at this lake, and Andre, remind me about this. I'm going to get back to your question about BC Yukon Air because I have an answer for you. I was looking at this lake, and there's like 5 or 6 different places to hike in, and I'm like, and I've been around enough like remote lakes, like walking around a lake seems like a really good idea until you're actually at the lake. And then normally it's just hellacious down by the lake because there's windfall. It's normally not a clear shoreline. So you'll be, it's normally really bad walking. So I started thinking to myself, well, this would be perfect for a little raft because I never even have to have the raft leave the lake. I don't even need to hike with the raft. The whole idea is just then Urs can drop me off on one side of the lake, and then I can hike up from there. If I don't see what I want, I come back to the lake, I paddle across the lake, go to another area, hike up there. And so really, it's just giving me the flexibility to bounce across the lake. And then there is obviously like a large river coming out at either end of the lake. And so if I ended up really far in one direction, I could then use the raft to kind of, I guess, help bring the game back or something like that. But the primary purpose of the raft is just to bounce across the lake to get to different ways that I'm thinking about hiking in.
It definitely adds mobility though, so you have more options and stuff.
100%.
Sure.
Yeah. And I thought it could help for glassing too, because sometimes you're on the shoreline and you can't like see up. I'm like, oh, you could always just go out into the middle of the lake. And then that would get you enough distance that you'd be able to get like a better angle to look up into the hills.
Yeah.
Especially if there's really tall trees right on the shoreline, you're not going to be able to glass up out of those. So, yeah.
It's going to be epic. 14 days, that's going to be a good one for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like going a little bit squirrely. I'm kind of into it.
It might happen.
Yeah. All right, 3 small wins. What do you got?
Okay, so I'm also I got 2 of my good buddies that I've been friends with since I was little. They finally got their hunting licenses. So they went and got their cores in November, December.
How long did it take to actually get the licenses? Do they have them yet?
So they have their hunting license,
but they don't have their gun license.
They don't have their gun license yet. So, but if they don't have their gun license in time, that's okay. It's
totally okay. As long as they're in your supervision, you can take them out. And just so people understand how that works, because this is a big deal, they're literally running like 8 to 12 months behind on PAL right now because of COVID, because everybody ran out and wanted a gun because the world was ending. And so in British Columbia, they could not go buy a gun until they have a PAL. But if they are within your supervision, so let's say at 100 meters or whatever, they can use your gun legally, they can shoot your gun legally. You don't need a PAL. That's why it's a possession and acquisition license. That you don't need it to legally shoot a gun in British Columbia. So that's great, because that would be a major roadblock. And I'm going to get back to how my brother got around that solution, because that might be beneficial for some people to find out this year too.
Perfect.
So there's number one.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward.
Newbies.
I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
especially like seeing people for the first time actually be out in the elements and experience the thrills and stuff that we get to do. So that's definitely one. That'll be Spring Bear, which is always a super fun, not crazy hardcore, but it's more of an enjoyable hunt, right? So that'll be a good time.
I think it's a great one to get your feet wet because of that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can still get your ass handed to you a little bit. Like, if you shoot something down a steep draw and you got to go, like, you can still take a bit of an ass kicking, but it's not like, 7 days in the backcountry that could literally just snap someone in half.
Yeah, it's a fun hunt. I always find it's fun. The weather's a little bit better.
You're going to see game. That's the other thing. Like, I've been on lots of deer hunts where I didn't see shit, man. Yeah. It is very rare to go bear hunting and not see bears. So it keeps it exciting for people.
Yeah, and I find with everything else, like especially deer hunting, you just put so much pressure on yourself, and you're constantly. Yeah. It's a grind. It's fun and you love it, but it's also like you're grinding.
That is such a good insight, man. I don't put the pressure on myself like that for bear. Like, no. I just don't. It's just not. There's something about a rack, dude. Like, because I'll be honest, I've killed some nice bears too with my bow and my rifle, and I really enjoyed the hunts. But it doesn't feel like when you smoke a giant mule deer. Like, it just doesn't. Like, so it's kind of. But again, I think that actually is a plus for the things that we're talking about, because it's a lower pressure situation.
Yeah, for sure. So my second one, I'm gonna get my bow. I gotta get my bow tuned, like we talked about. My wife actually the other day, she's like, "You got this bow? You've had it for like 2 years, and it's been in the closet because I've had." The long story short was like such a problem with like just the lower mainland with the companies around here. So
I think I want to open a bow shop.
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man. Like, because I went out and did the same thing, exactly what you talked about last week. I went out and bought like the top model bow. Yeah. For like, it's PSC, but it was one of the top model bows for PSC, just not carbon fiber, like you said.
They got nice shit.
Yeah, and then spent a bunch of money, got it all set up, and there's just something's off with it. I've had a couple people shoot it. They said the same thing. I played around with it myself. Probably screwed it up more than what I helped it.
Come over, man. I just had my buddy Simon over here. We restrung his bow from scratch. I had him shooting a bullet hole in paper in like 25 minutes after we had it strung. Yeah. And he took it home. He bear shaft tuned it. And he's shooting fucking laser beams, man.
Yeah,
I got the press here. I got the vise, the whole
arrows. It might be the arrows. I mean, they're good on the chart as per what the bow is, but you never know. I mean, it is what it is. So,
so bow needs to get fixed.
Yeah, so
one way or another.
Yeah, and then once the bow gets fixed, then I'm definitely going to make it a goal to like get out and practice a couple times a week. Definitely put some practice in, and if I can get it done in the next couple of months, by the time if I get out for Spring Bear, I might take the bow up for Spring Bear. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
So that'll be the second one. The third, every year I try and further yourself with hunting, same as like you're doing the sheep hunt. So
yeah,
I don't know. I have a couple things that I want to do this year, but I don't know. I haven't narrowed it down. I haven't really planned all my hunts depending on LEH, but I definitely want to focus a little bit more. I want to do a backpack solo hunt for sure.
Okay.
Second thing would be I want to find a good like whitetail. I haven't never done a focused whitetail. I've gone out with there's been mule deer and whitetail, but I want to try and focus and do some scouting for a good whitetail spot. So
I like it, man.
Yeah, so just different. It's a little bit of it might be a little bit of an off year this year because me and the wife are we might be trying to plan to have a second kid. So
Oh shit.
yeah, so it might be a little bit of a focus on family year, and maybe next year I might be able to squeeze out. And I've been building those points in the States, so I'm thinking maybe next year I might try. And
How many points you got? You just started last year?
last year, and so this will be second. So next year will be three, and I just did Wyoming and Montana because I'm
So you're
mostly
good. You'd be good for Montana next year for sure, because you could
yeah,
probably be good for Montana this year.
yeah,
And you're probably good for Wyoming for a special draw next year, which is expensive, like $1,500, and then you're probably good for the regular draw the year after that.
yeah.
So you
So
could
we'll
do
see.
Montana next year, and then the Wyoming the year after that.
Well, one of those states can't you can only buy a point for 2 years in a row, and then you have to actually go after.
Yeah,
Don't
you
you?
have to actually apply for a tag.
Yeah, after
The
two
hack
years, right?
is you just apply for an impossible tag.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah, you just pick a unit that needs like 15 points.
yeah.
Um, and what else?
I might do that Arizona thing because you mentioned your
The over the counter.
yeah, and you mentioned your buddy has a guide service, and that's not that bad. Like when you really look at
No,
like
dude, three
you could
grand US. You
no,
go
I
down
mean
for a week.
you're
I
all
think it's
taken care of.
3,500, but if you tell
Yeah.
me you're going to call them, I'll tell them to give you a deal. I
Yeah, so I
think
mean
I
that's not too bad either. So we'll
no,
see what happens and see what the time frame is. But yeah, I mean it's always cool to like that's the best thing about hunting is you can make it what you have time for and you make it how extreme you want to go or like you
yes,
as long as you every year I find I try and further yourself and do different things and that's the best thing about it.
100%, man. Okay, sick. So recap for everybody who wasn't tuning in. We're trying to pick 3 small wins that we can achieve this season that aren't related to necessarily killing an animal, but they could contribute to being successful in killing an animal. So mine were longest solo hunt to date, going in for 14 days for stone sheep. You know what'll be funny is if I kill a stone sheep on like day 6, and then I'll achieve my goal of a sheep, but I will fail in my goal of my longest solo hunt. And
I think you'll be okay with that
I'm
too.
okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm
I
okay
don't
with that.
I don't think you'd have a lot of sympathy on that
No,
one
no,
complaining.
we'll go back in next year
Yeah,
and try and beat the record. So
there you go.
longest solo hunt, first time using a pack raft on a hunt, and taking a non-hunter, specifically my brother, out for his first big hunt. Recap yours again, real quick.
So it was the new hunter thing as well, and then the bow tune with focusing on the practice throughout the year, and
Yeah,
then putting myself in a position to experience something new. So that's definitely I think that's probably the number one thing. But
I like it.
yeah,
I shot
man.
a whitetail doe this year, man. I loved it.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it on the heard your
Yeah, it was a
experience
pretty
on the
fun. It
podcast.
was a pretty fun little hunt, and it looks like I've got everything locked in. I'm going to do a guided whitetail hunt,
Cool,
in Alberta, late
nice,
November. Kind
nice.
of going to go try and smoke a giant, and it's a bit of a smaller operation, so I'm feeling like, as I'm not really like the big guided hunt guy, but this is more of like a. Anyways, I'll talk about more about that as it gets closer. I'm excited about that. Okay, now there's a couple questions that popped up on Instagram that I wanna answer for people because I actually have answers, which is rare. So Andre, hope you're still here. He said, "Did you have trouble getting a hold of BC Yukon Air Service this year?" The answer is yes, and the answer is everyone does. So what happens is that dude essentially takes off for the winter. And I forget the dude who stays behind. It might be Alex. And they basically go incommunicado for 3 or 4 months over the winter because nobody's flying, nobody's doing anything, and they kind of don't give a shit. So if you've paid a deposit and you can't get a hold of anybody, don't worry. Nobody's gone out of business. Nobody's run off with people's deposits. They've just all headed down south for the winter. I did eventually get a hold of, I think it was Alex again, kind of late January, and then I locked in my lake for caribou um, and paid my deposit. But I know quite a few dudes that haven't been able to get through yet, so don't stress about it. Um, you will get a hold of them. Nobody's screwing anybody over or gone under. And then my buddy Darren asked if my brother has got his ducks in a row as far as his core yet. And I wanted to, because you talked about the issues people have been having with their pals, and then how long it took to get a core. So my brother's coming on his first hunt, and I was gonna have him do his core, and I was gonna have him do his pal. And the more I thought about it, it was like for a dude who might not like, maybe this isn't his thing. Maybe he's not going to like it. I don't want to put that pressure. My brother's not doesn't really deal well with like lots of pressure. It's not his thing. He doesn't like feeling like he's obligated or people have a lot of expectations. So I'm trying to keep it light and fun. And he would have done it if I asked him to, because our old man is coming out and it's kind of a big deal. But I looked into it, and there's this thing called, and I'm going to forget what it's called now. Do you know what this thing is? It is,
Uh,
it's,
it's a pass to a company or something. Isn't it like you can go
it's
with
not, it's kind of like a permit to a company for a first time hunter.
yeah, it's you can
So if
go
you're a
for one
BC
time.
resident, you can mentor a BC resident for 1 year, and they don't have to get their core, and they don't have to get their PAL. Now, the only drawback is they're hunting off your tags.
Oh, is
So
that how it
because,
works? Okay.
yeah, because they don't have a hunting license, they can't. Um, oh, awesome! Did you guys? Sorry, Andre. Did you guys book with Black Sheep Aviation out of Watson? I know a lot of people that are a few people that they've been having really good luck with Black Sheep, and that's Cash, the guy who runs with Dustin Rowe, who owns BC Backcountry and Beyond. Anyways, um, you can get this first time hunter certification, and then you literally just fill it out. You pay $20, and then my brother will be able to hunt off my tag, and he'll be able to shoot my gun. And then, if he likes it, and if he goes on this first hunt and he has a really good time, then he can get his core and his pal next year, and we'll worry about it. And I thought it was a really good way, and I don't think you'd be wanting to do it for a ton of people, because they are going to hunt on your tag. Like, it's my brother. I'd be willing to sacrifice one of my tags. Like, I I think there's a very good chance we should be seeing moose and caribou where we're going, and then the conversation will be like, I get one, you get the other. So, and I want him to be successful before I am. So I'm basically going to say, listen, man, shoot whichever one of these you want, or whatever we see first, and then
Totally.
I'll worry about smoking something.
Is there any update with that? With the government, have they said anything more?
I no,
No.
and I think what happened here is there's two, and I need to take some responsibility for this, because I think I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. It was more of like weird timing, that this weird treaty shit. And you know what? I said that in like a trivializing manner, and I shouldn't, because I'm sure this is really important to a lot of people, and I don't want to come off as like negative about it. I don't know a whole lot about the situation, and so I don't want to come off negative. But there were some complications with some treaty hunting rights in the Peace region that were primarily influenced by possibly some overly energetic resource extraction that was negatively impacting hunting. There has been this conversation that they're going to reduce hunting access to compensate for the resource extraction. At the same time that was happening, I had applied for this permit to a company over in Region 6. And literally the same day I got the news about the Peace region, the province emailed me back and said, we're delaying your permit to a company because we don't know what we're doing with caribou yet. I kind of conflated the two things in my head. And it turned out a couple people touched base. And I guess lots of people have applied for caribou and 6 for permits to a company in multiple years. And depending on the caribou counts, sometimes they give out permits to a company and sometimes they don't. So this has nothing to do with the treaty issues in the peace. And this is solely like a resource management issue. And it's too early in the year. They don't have their counts back, and they haven't decided on what the caribou numbers are. So, and when I went and reread the email, it was actually a pretty like friendly email. Like, they even said in the email, listen, if you're denied in this unit, we will likely give you some other recommendations, or like let you know, like, okay, 6X is full, isn't, but over here in 6Y, there are some permit to accompany tags if you guys want to switch the unit that you're going to. And then I heard through the grapevine that there shouldn't be any issues with the caribou hunt in 6 other than the regular, appropriate, responsible resource management. So they'll let whatever normal number of tags they let out. But if you're a BC resident and you want to hunt over the counter, from what I understand, there shouldn't be a problem in Region 6. It's 7B specifically that's still up in the air right now, and no one has made a statement one way or the other.
That's good. Well, I mean,
it's better. Yeah, better than like just killing caribou hunting in the whole province, which was kind of where my head went at first, and like that was stressing me out a little bit.
I think it's pretty easy to assume that with everything going on with the states and all the spring bear and stuff like that they're trying to cancel in all those, what is it, like 5 or 6 states that they're trying to pull it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense though, like the bargaining token that they were trying to, if that's what they're trying to do or not trying to do, who knows?
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the Q&A. I've got a bunch here that people sent in. And as always, if you want to write something in the IG chat window, go nuts. Or if you want to write something in the YouTube chat window, go nuts. One of us will try and pay attention. So I think this is kind of an interesting question. I'm not even sure if there's a right answer. I'm going to throw it to you first. If you could no longer hunt, how would that affect you?
That's a good question. Probably have. I think for me, hunting. I didn't grow up in a hunting background. I kind of got into it later, in life. So I played fairly competitive sports growing up. So hunting kind of took as I got older, and those kind of shut down. Hunting kind of took that over for me. So it kind of replaced that, and it was more self-competitive than anything else, but it kind of replaced that for me. So I would definitely have to find something else that would
replace it.
Yeah. I think I'd be a lot more miserable at home, so my wife probably wouldn't be.
Yeah. Get your ass out and go do something.
Yeah.
So my particular journey went from CrossFit to jiu-jitsu to hunting. And I have a bit of hunting in my background with my old man's family, but also was kind of like an adult onset hunter. So I can really relate to what you're saying because, yeah, there's the food element, but I think probably more importantly, if I'm just going to be blatantly honest about it, it's more the challenge and the conquest and the personal challenge of that hunting. It's more important, like that fulfills more. The other thing is easy to fix. Like, I'm not going to lie. If I had to go buy a half a grass-fed cow from 100 Mile House once a year, dietarily, I'd kind of be in the same boat as eating a couple deer. I would still feel like I was having, healthy meat that I trust, but the whole in my life would be this, like, the wilderness adventure and the challenge and the struggle. So I think I'd be like you. That's what I would. What I wonder is, like, would I get into mountaineering or something? I don't think so. Like, that's never really been, like, I was a forestry engineer for 15 years and I never understood, like, I've never understood 4x4ing, like the idea of just like driving out to like get your truck stuck and then get it unstuck. It was like, yeah, if I'm trying to go kill something, I'll drive my truck through something. Or if I need to get to work, I will drive. And I kind of feel the same way about mountaineering. When there isn't an animal to kill on the other side of the fucking hill, I'm like, I don't understand why you want to climb to the top of that thing. Like, it just doesn't fire me up in any way, shape, or form. Like, did you watch that what the fuck is his name? Did you see that the Mount Everest documentary on Netflix?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that got me pretty fired up, man. Like, that dude's hardcore.
Some of that Everest thing is crazy though. Like, those guys are just, the shape that those guys are in is they've tuned their bodies to just be able to do that specific goal.
Yes.
But I'm with you though. Like, you think that the hunting, obviously the meat's awesome. I love it. I had bear and spaghetti tonight. But
I had bear and spaghetti tonight.
did you? Nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
my wife made it. I got home from work and I was like, oh, awesome.
that's badass.
But yeah, I mean, I think I love being out in the elements. Like that's awesome.
Yeah,
And like it's when you're in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing. If something was to happen, it's just you and Mother Nature. It sounds corny, but that's what it is.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's that goal as well. I mean, I wouldn't climb or hike, 15K and then be like, well, I'm here. At least you're going for a purpose, right? So
Yeah, and I think I'd still take my kid because that serves a purpose to me and I can get behind it. The other thing that I said earlier on, like early on in my um, kind of hunting career, after I found archery, I don't mind shooting guns, but I'm not a passionate rifleman. It's not my where my heart lies. My heart lies with archery. And if hunting became illegal tomorrow, I wouldn't get rid of my guns because I like my personal freedom. But I would rarely shoot them because it just doesn't fire me up. But I'd probably start competition archery because I love shooting my bow that much
yeah,
that even it's one of those things to me that you can never be perfect at. Like it's just such a finesse art. And even if I couldn't hunt, I would still shoot my bow on a regular basis because it also does something for me, like meditatively. Like it brings a sense of peace into my life from like just that. And it's a peaceful activity. Like hunting guns is very like violent and explosive. And I don't mean it's cool. I like shooting guns, but it's not the same experience to me
no, I feel you.
as shooting a rifle.
There's something about grabbing a coffee and first thing in the morning and going out and just shooting your bow and just
Yeah,
I feel it.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
definitely. There isn't like a game in BC? We don't have like I know in the States like what's the company that fitness company um Mountain Ops, is it Mountain Ops, and they put that big um archery shoot on like
Okay,
the
there's a few. You're probably talking about TAC. TAC is the big one, the Total Archery Challenge.
yeah, that's the one, there you go.
And I think what happens is major brands will sponsor courses.
Yeah,
So they'll do these at ski hills and there'll be like 3 or 4 courses. This is another thing where we should like now that the borders are kind of open and back up, like there's a couple that aren't too far from here. Like there's a couple, one that happens in Montana, and there might be one that happens in either Oregon or Washington that are probably like less than a 10-hour drive,
yeah,
which for a guy from Canada, it's like that's a reasonable weekend trip.
yeah,
Um, that would be a cool thing to like
that'd be
throw
fun.
4 dudes in a pickup truck and like
Yeah,
drive down for a weekend. And it's a pretty like practical training experience. Like it's hard. It's basically a 3D course on the top of a ski hill, and you take the lifts up to the top, and then you walk the whole course down. And there's 3 or 4 different courses, so you go stay for the whole weekend. Maybe shoot. It's kind of like rounds of golf. Like
yeah,
I think you could reasonably fit in 2 courses a day. So maybe on the Saturday and Sunday you're going to do the hill 4 times or something like that. But I think that would be fun as shit, man.
that'd be
Like
sweet.
I
Yeah,
would get into that. And I think you get in kind of bigger groups. So you'd probably end up meeting some new people and stuff. Like we're not really great at doing that kind of stuff in Canada. And I think our population just isn't dense enough. We just don't have those types of options.
yeah, they have a lot of those like camps and stuff like that in the States, like hunting camps. I know that like Ryan Lampers, I think, has one, and then
Elk Shape was just last weekend. He was talking about it on the podcast. I know
oh,
a guy.
okay, yeah. And
who
doesn't
do-
Barklow has one too, doesn't he? Doesn't he do a
I
or does he
don't.
just do a course like conference courses and stuff like that?
I think he just does like seminars. I don't
Seminars,
think he
that's
has
it.
an actual
Yeah.
camp. I know Lampers has a camp. I know Dan Staten, aka Elk Shape, has a camp. I feel like there's one more that I'm forgetting. But yeah, I've had a couple people hit me up this year and they're like, I want to do my first backpack hunt. Like, where do I start? And I'm like, well, arguably you should go to one of those. Actually, I will give Dylan at Eat Wild a shout out. He used to do like a weekend seminar. I feel like COVID really kicked his teeth in a bit. Like he was really gaining some momentum as far as like putting on sausage making classes and doing backcountry weekend getaways with like how to pack and actually taking people out in the field and like that was a really great resource. And then I think with the difficulties with COVID, like he just wasn't able to keep up with a lot of that stuff. But I did see that the backcountry hunters and anglers are doing a Zoom that Dylan is hosting, focused on how to pack for your, for beginner. I don't even want to say beginner, but like for people who don't have a ton of experience, how to pack for a backcountry hunt. And I think if you go to Dylan's page, Eat Wild, or if you go to Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, you figure out where that is. So there's an example of something local, but not 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 cool and competitive like a tack or something like that.
I'm just looking at one of these questions here.
Yeah, why don't you read that out? Are you talking about the one from Andre?
Yeah, so he says, as a young man currently in school for wild management, what are some pointers do you recommend to keep in mind as my final goal is to help manage wildlife in BC? Predator hunting for sure. Last year we went up moose hunting and there was wolves and coyotes everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's definitely that'd be definitely one to start with, I would say.
And I think the idea of like looking at it as like, okay, so one of the things about being a forestry engineer is that you're all like going out and logging a piece of ground is one of the most difficult things you're ever going to do in British Columbia, because you realize there's all these stakeholders, man, and everybody kind of has a valid point. Like the nations will have a valid point. There'll be like a fucking mountain biking group that might utilize some trail and they want to have a say, and there'll be some community woodlot that wants to have a say. And at first you're just like, my job's to go find timber and log it and make money, get the fuck out of my way. And then after a few years you're like, okay, well, when you listen to all these people enough times, you start to realize everybody really has a valid point. And I think with any resource, I think if we're going to manage it responsibly, we need to recognize that there's always going to be multiple stakeholders and that all of them have a right to have an opinion on how that resource is utilized. And they don't have to agree. Like, I don't need everyone in British Columbia to love hunting. And I think if people want wild animals in a place where they're like viewable, like we don't really have a Yellowstone per se, but like there's lots of people that want to participate in wildlife viewing experiences, that if we just had unfettered hunting access, that'd be really difficult for them, because unending hunting pressure just across the entire province would push a lot of that game so deep that people aren't going to be able to go out on the weekends and see that kind of stuff. So I think we just got to recognize that there's other stakeholders that have just as much right to participate and utilize the resources of British Columbia just as much as we do. And that the magic happens when you can sit down with people and say, how can we jointly accomplish all of our goals? And maybe it's we all just take a little bit less, or maybe, we come up with creative solutions. But instead of going and thinking solely about how can I get more rights as a hunter, I think it's a more successful strategy to think like, how can everybody more beneficially participate in the wilderness that we have in British Columbia? Because the more people that are locked into the wilderness and feel like a sense of ownership, the more people we're going to have on our side when other forces come into play that don't want that wilderness and they just want to extract resources or build, ski hills or things that would completely wipe out, the wild places that we have in British Columbia. So I don't know, if I was younger and that was what I was getting into, that would be the kind of mind frame I'd be trying to enter it into with, is that it's more about, joint cooperation and convening different interest groups in order to come up with creative solutions than it is about thinking, how can we win?
That's a good answer. It's a lot better than mine of kill wolves.
Oh no, I'm into the wolf killing too, man. I think we need to make predator hunting more sexy. Like like, because people are afraid to post pictures of wolves and even bears and coyotes and there is this incentive on social media. I'm to blame. I've never gone wolf hunting. I want to go wolf hunting, um, really bad, and I just kind of haven't gotten around to it. So you know what? There's another small win, man. You know what? 2022, aside from just bear, I am going to figure out a way to do a predator hunt of some kind. I'll make that commitment right now because I do think we have a responsibility. I remember somebody saying that you should have to kill a predator in order to get a deer tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was up ice fishing actually, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, and a couple nights we heard wolves across the lake, which is the second year in a row that we've heard wolves up there. So, and there's in the fall there's just tracks everywhere. So it needs to happen. I mean, but BC overall, I'd say they do a pretty good job conservation wise if they follow the science of it. I mean, there has been some big things over the last couple of years that we probably don't agree on.
Like a grizzly bear hunt.
Yeah, that's probably one of them. But I mean, that's a long-winded.
My issue with BC in general, and this goes from logging to wildlife management, is that you would think we would be one of the premier destinations in the world for things like logging and wildlife management, and we are embarrassingly far behind. Like when you look at Europe or New Zealand, like they blow us out of the water when it comes to like logging technology and stuff. And if you look at how the States manages wildlife, they blow us. Like their populations are booming and ours are just trending down year after year after year.
Didn't Virginia just opened up their
Virginia opened a fucking elk season.
Yeah,
like
first
our elk numbers are going down in British Columbia, and Virginia now has 5 elk tags. And here's the deal. It's because, and I'm going to use this in like a metaphorical sense, we're fat and lazy. Like British Columbia has just always had a shitload of everything. It's got a shitload of trees. It's got a shitload of oil. It's got a shitload of animals. So we never went through that like near extermination point that the United States went through when like, whitetail populations went from something like 22 million across North America down to like less than 500,000, I think 380,000 or something. So they were so close to the point of extinction on so many species that they had to like take this drastic action to like bring them all back. And we've never had that in BC. And I think we're just kind of, the other thing I think is we're too cheap. Like the fact that I can go out and buy all my tags for $20 a piece. I'm sorry, it's not realistic. And I know there's a lot of old timers that are going to hate the fact that I'm saying this, but like, I think tags should be way more expensive. I would pay a couple $100 for an elk tag. I know it seems ridiculous, but if we want these organizations to be funded appropriately in order to do the science we want them to do and to take the measures we want them to take in order to have these like healthy, thriving populations, I think they need enough money to do it. Now, do I really trust the current individuals with the decisions they've made? Do I want to just piss more money down a hole that I don't really think is doing that much? No. But if we could, I think there's some problems to fix, but if they got fixed, I think giving those individuals more funding is a big part of it. Like, go hunt in the States, man. It ain't fucking cheap.
And I'm gonna ask it to you rather than just make a statement because I'm not 100% sure, but I did hear is our tag, the money that the government gets for our tags, it doesn't go directly to conservation, does it, or is it just going to the pool?
It's a really good question that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah, I'm not 100%. I know I read or I heard something before that it just goes into like the pool. I don't know if it goes straight back into the conservation, but that'd be something interesting to find out too.
It would. I should have somebody on the podcast to have a deeper conversation.
I think my phone just died.
Oh yeah, you glitched out. Anyways, I should have somebody on to have a deeper conversation about that, so I'm not talking out of my ass.
I know, that's why I'm not going to say anything for sure or not, but I was Get this
Okay, we're
phone
gonna
up.
wind down here shortly, but I'll do. Let me know if you need me to invite you back into the room when you get your
It's
phone
on
back.
Instagram, so I should be all right. Oh, maybe you might have to. I don't know. It's all right.
Is your phone back on?
Not yet, but it will be. Sorry, I didn't know we were going to use our phone, so it's my
No,
bad.
it's all good. It's all good.
Um, Go ahead.
What the fuck was I gonna say? Anyways, we'll defer that until we have a chance to because the reason you raise an interesting point is that in the States, for example, they have the Pittman Robertson tax and the Dingle Johnson tax, which is like a shitload of money. All outdoor and ammunition related supplies get taxed, and then that money has to go towards conservation activities. However, if a state takes any money from like the sale of tags or access to wilderness or hunting activities and uses it for anything other than conservation, their entire state becomes ineligible for matching dollars from the Pittman Robertson Act. So they're literally giving up like, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
a year. So those guys are like locked into, if the money comes from hunting, it stays in hunting. And I think you're right when you say that in Canada, I don't think there is a similar incentive. I think you're right. I think it just goes all into the general ledger. And then when the budget comes out, it just goes to whatever it needs to be used for.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that somebody on a podcast or I read something somewhere that it just goes into the general pool, but yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. Okay, I want to answer Josh's question here. So he says, I once heard you mention that you did not agree with Crispy as a company. I'm curious as to why. I too prefer to give my business to companies that are like minded as me. What is it about Crispy? Okay, first of all, I may have gone off a little half cocked about Crispy, which I have a tendency to do. But there are a select few brands in the hunting industry who take a particular marketing approach that I find distasteful, and Crispy is one of them. I cannot turn on YouTube without being inundated by influencers telling me that Crispy are the best boots that have ever been made on the planet Earth. And it's like, yeah, because they're sponsoring you and they're paying you to say that. Um, and I could go on and on. I got to be honest. I feel the same way about Vortex. Like if I hear Remy Warren say Vortex is the best glass on the planet Earth one more time, I'm going to punch him in the fucking throat because it's not. You're lying. You are lying. No one with two good eyes would ever say Vortex is even remotely close to the best glass. Now, is it the best value? I think that would be an interesting conversation to have. I think between Vortex and Maven, you probably have a really interesting conversation, and I think you can get some damn decent glass for a really affordable amount of money. But if you're talking like Swaro, Leica, and Zeiss, they shit all over Vortex all day, every day. And it pisses me off when people take money from companies and then outright lie to the people that follow them. And then those people believe what you're saying and they go spend their hard earned money. I have not taken a single sponsor since I started this thing. I don't take 5 red cents or whatever the fuck you want to say from anybody. Some people send me some free shit, but there's no strings attached. Go listen to my review of the Sitka sleeping bag. It's not all sunshine and roses. I'm always very clear. I'm getting a little bit worked up here. The thing, I don't have anything specifically against Crispy. What I don't like is this like super aggressive marketing. Like when you think about it like this, for every dollar that comes into or exits a company, whatever portion of that dollar goes towards marketing isn't going towards materials or product development. And if the products are the same price, then the only answer is there's less money to create a quality product because I have to spend more money convincing everybody that my shit product is a good product. And when you look at top tier brands and you look at the marketing strategy employed by top tier brands, it's not the same. Is Swaro running around sponsoring everybody on the planet? Nope. Why? Because the shit's the best. And they don't have to run around and sponsor everybody on the planet. And so, listen, Crispy boots could be super nice boots. And if you own a pair of Crispy boots and you're happy with the way those boots fit your feet and you're happy with the way they've held up for you, then I say keep on buying Crispy. For me, I just preferred to deal with, other brands that aren't so aggressive and so widespread with their marketing. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on Crispy. What are your thoughts on that?
I I have hand wags and I love them.
Yep.
It's probably the greatest Christmas present that I got from my wife ever.
Which ones?
I think they're the Alaska.
Like full leather?
Yeah, full
Yep,
leather.
I had
Yeah,
them. I know
they're
the exact,
awesome, man.
the Alaska Trapper tops or whatever.
They're
Yeah.
if you're gonna spend money, let's spend the money on the boots, man. They're I've never had a problem with them. They're super comfortable. They're awesome. As for Crispies, I know my brother-in-law just got Crispies insulated ones last fall. I mean, he took a mule deer hunting and he liked them. But I mean, I'm sure they're good boots. I've never tried them, but yeah, I mean, they do advertise a lot to younger Instagram stuff like that. Like I think Gritty has discount codes for it, and those guys, and they pump those popular channels and stuff like that. So I get what you're saying. As for Vortex, I have the binoculars, the Razor HDs, and I got a killer deal on the spotting scope. So best bang for buck with the warranty. You got to throw the warranty in there with it because they could drive it over. You could drive your truck over it and they would replace it, right? So that's saying something. But yeah, I have a Zeiss rifle scope on my 300, and there's no comparison from a Zeiss to a Vortex scope. It's just not comparable. So
Yeah.
I mean, if I was gonna go into like sheep hunting full time, like I would definitely be upgrading the spotting scope for sure. The binoculars actually are pretty decent. Like they're not that bad.
I like the Razor HDs.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I did a bunch of binocular testing, and the Zeiss Conquest, if you made me choose between, and that's their like middle of the road binocular, if you made me choose between the Zeiss Conquest and the Razor HDs, I'm going with the Razor HDs. I think the
Yeah, they're pretty
ergonomics on the Razor HDs, and I think I had the 12 by 50s. I really like those binoculars for what they were, like $1,000 pair of binoculars.
Yeah.
You would be hard pressed to, in that price point, find a better pair of binos. I got no problem saying that. My only problem is when people start going, this is the best glass, and it's just like you don't have to lie. Just be honest and say like it is what it is. It's the best value glass for that money. I'm like, okay, great. No problems when
there's an argument to be made about that, about best bang for buck comparative to it, but it depends on it. Like it's like anything, it depends on what you're doing. Like if you're going like for me, I do like mostly mule deer, moose, like hunting like that. Like I'm not doing like the crazy goat yet. We've gone scouting for goats, but like stuff like that. So if I was going to go sheep hunting to identify a sheep, you would need better glass. I mean, just in my opinion, like you'd be going up to Swaro or whatever. So,
is your phone back on yet? I'm getting shit because people can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's probably your wife.
Probably. No, it's still dead. Sorry.
That's all right. Yes, Greg is having phone issues. If you can't hear Greg, you can go on YouTube and Greg will be there. Anyways, I don't want to shit all over brands, and I don't want to shit all over people who, like, everybody needs to make a paycheck, and I'm not. But I will say this. One of the, like, driving forces behind why I started Mindful Hunter is that I was sick and tired that every opinion that I listened to on the internet was bought and paid for. And I'm lucky. I have a good job. I have a good family. I don't need to make money from Mindful Hunter. This is my passion project. So, um, like it was almost like one of the core values of Mindful Hunter is that I will be honest and have integrity about every product that I use. Now, if I can partner with people, I'm all about that, but I'm not going to sacrifice my own integrity in order to do that. I think you can have partnerships and I think you can work with brands to help share information about their products in an honest way. I don't think it has to all be shilling products in order to pay your bills. Anyways, that's my 2 cents. And I do think Sig, somebody's saying try some Sig. I think Sig makes some really nice shit too. I think Loophole is another example. Like, okay, so I have a Vortex PST Gen 2 scope on my 300 Win Mag that I got to be honest with you, like I'm not a Vortex guy, but I really like that scope. I've beat the shit out of that gun. I've never lost whatchamacallit. I've never had to reset the zero. I've never had to recite it. It's amazing. The problem is it's 28 ounces. I went to go get a new scope for my new rifle, and I can get an almost identical scope from Loophole. I think Loophole and Vortex would be a comparable as far as glass quality goes. And it's 19 ounces. The VX5 HD, it's less than $1,500. Like, it's a phenomenal scope. And I got to be honest with you. I looked at Swaro, I looked at Leica, and I looked at Zeiss. None of those three main brands had a scope that fell into the weight parameters I was looking for that still had the functionality and the feature set of the Leupold VX5 HD. Now, I know I'm taking a marginal hit in glass quality, but to get those other things that I'm looking for, like the whole package, I'm willing to do it. So again, I'm not saying there's no place for, these other non-top tier brands. It's just, be honest with yourself about what you're getting.
Totally. No, that VX5 though is a solid scope
It's
though.
almost like a holy grail. Like nothing touches that scope, man. Like, it's wild that they built that scope. It has the feature set that it does, and it weighs 19 ounces. Like,
And
it's fucking crazy.
Omar's putting it on like Gunworks guns and everything like that. So
Yeah,
if you're putting it on like a $15,000 to $20,000 gun, you know that it's top of
yeah,
the line. So I mean,
yeah.
the weird thing about the Leopold though is their spotting scopes with like how they're the square. Have you
I
seen
don't
those?
like
Like
that.
they're so they're so different.
Uh,
They're just different. I've never tried one, so I can't really say
yeah,
good or bad. But it's just there's just square. It's weird.
yeah. I think the Sig ones look a little bit weird too. I've never used one of those either, so I don't have like a hardcore opinion on them.
Have you? I was going to ask you. With reloading, you were going to get into reloading. I can't find ammo for my 300 anywhere.
Really?
Yeah, like I normally shoot like the Nosler 180 Akibons,
Yep.
and they're sold out everywhere. And I DM'd Nosler the other day, and they got back to me right away, and they said that they're not even on the schedule for this year yet. Like they're gonna make the 180 trophy grade partitions in the fall, they said. So
Wow.
yeah, and they're sold out everywhere. So I might even be joining you on the reloading front.
Yeah.
I got a few left from last year still, but it's slim
I got
pickings
a, I
with
got a
ammo.
couple boxes. I'm
Did you?
shooting the 200 grain ELDXs for my 300 Win Mag,
Okay.
and then I'm shooting the 212 ELDX for my 300 PRC
You shoot the precision hunters, right? For your Win Mag?
for both.
And oh, okay, for both.
Yeah.
You like
Yeah.
those?
I do. Somebody asked a question about this, and I'm going to do a whole video on my gun. But I know people shit all over the ELDX, and they talk about like the bullet fragmenting and it not staying together and all this kind of stuff. And I'm not a gun nut, so I'm not going to get into listen. I'm going to beat big. I'm not going to get in over my head and talk about shit that I don't understand. But how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've pulled the trigger 5. Well, the trigger has been pulled on my 300 Win Mag 5 times with those ELDX chambered. Every single animal has dropped in its tracks. I don't mean ran 20 yards and fell over. I mean, bam, done. 2 bear and 3 deer. And I think some people with smaller bullets and smaller caliber bullets have had problems with the ELDX. But man, when you chuck a 200 grain bullet at 3,000 feet per second, I don't really give a shit what shape it shows up in. Like, the thing that it slams into dies.
For sure.
And so, on my experience, it's been devastating. Devastating. Like, yeah, bear, deer, no problem. Now, I haven't shot, I'll be going up north this year. And, as long as everything goes right, hopefully I'll be shooting some bigger game like a moose. I think a caribou, arguably, is closer to a deer than a moose as far as the difficulty to knock it down. But I'll be interested to see how it does on some bigger game. But until it stops behaving for me, I trust those ELDX because they have literally dropped everything that I've shot with it.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had problems with those with my 308. I've had, I think they're 168 or 178. I can't remember. I think they're 168.
I think they're 168 too.
Yeah. Anyways, I had just through and through. Two deer I had just
like penciled.
Yeah, just right through.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I've heard the same thing.
I don't know what. Maybe because of
like
you
they don't
said,
mushroom.
Yeah, nothing. Just right through and through the deer. And then I don't know if like you said, it's a lighter bullet. Maybe it's just. But I know with when I got my 300 and I was shooting those AccuBonds, it was like I got one bullet left for one of the spring bears last year, and it was just complete mushroom. Yeah, I think there's actually a picture of it on my Instagram, maybe, but yeah, they're great. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So I bought 5 boxes of those ELDX. The other thing is when you buy a Fierce, they guarantee sub half MOA groups, but only with the ammo that they've tested it with. Obviously, because they can't guarantee it with every
ammo. Yeah.
Ammo. I didn't actually know what ammo they tested it with, and when Omer set the gun up for me because he scoped it, he has this great service. I'm going to have him on the podcast the next week or two. He has this amazing service, and for $250, he'll put your whole gun together, mount the scope, put a level on it, whole 9 yards, and then he takes it to the range. And he will drop 3 or 4 different rounds through it. He will note the grouping sizes of all the different rounds. He'll chronograph all the different rounds, and then he'll say, okay, this is the best one for this particular rifle. And he does all that for $250. And then you buy, half a dozen boxes of that ammo. And like for someone who doesn't have the time or inclination to get super nerdy about their gun, I mean, you can't beat that shit with a stick, man. $250. It cost me that just to go buy 2 boxes of
I was gonna say. It was like
the Nozzler's $90 a box.
Oh yeah,
as it is.
Yeah,
and then you shoot a half a dozen of them, and it's like, oh, the gun doesn't like this. And I've got. I should give it to you. I've got several boxes of 300 Win Mag. Let me go have a look. I might actually have your Nozzlers.
If you have them, I'll
let you know. But anyways, he set it all up, and what shot best was the 212 ELDX. And then when the Fierce got here, they give you the range paper that your gun was originally sighted
in the
with
box,
at Fierce in the box, and it's the 212 ELDX. And I'm like, okay, well, this is good enough. If Omer liked the 212, Fierce likes the 212, and I think it shot a .381 MOA group.
Nice. That's sick.
With the 212. So it's like
a sick gun.
Yeah, done. And again, it's a 212 grain bullet. If you put that anywhere remotely close to where it's supposed to go, that thing is going to die.
Yeah. Well, I know last year my buddy bought the Gunworks gun off of Omar. And then I emailed him. I think we talked, and I emailed him about getting the the Tika. I got the Tika 300 Win Mag with, I think it was in the Rough Tech
Yeah,
edition. And it's a good business when he literally told me, he's like, I can't get it. He's like, Cabela's, Bass Pro, they have the buying power and they can.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't get my hands on one yet, and so he sent me there to buy it. So I mean,
Yeah.
like that's pretty good when a
He's
guy's
badass like
yeah,
that,
man,
man.
that's pretty sweet that he would tell you to, help you out and be like, hey, I can't get that right now. Just go there and get it. And then if I ended up getting a scope there too, or whatever. So, anyways, it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely. He has a good line of stuff too.
Yep.
With Stone Glacier and then Kafaru and stuff like that too, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
Good
If
guy.
you're going through Cornell on your way up north to go hunting, he's always a good guy to stop in.
Yeah.
All right, man. We got a shitload more questions, but it's 10 o'clock and I'm done. And I'm sure we both got work earlier on in the morning.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. And we'll do it again. We'll have you back on. I'll sort out the streaming stuff so that it's a little cleaner. I think we lost some viewers at the beginning simply because the link was different than what everybody was.
Yeah, no, I'll make sure my phone's charged next time too. So,
all right. Okay, so quick little wrap up. As always, if everybody could do me a favor and engage with the podcast, like, comment, share, subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. If you want to support the podcast directly, mindfulhunter.com/shop. Go buy a t-shirt, a hat, whatever. That helps this whole thing keep doing what this thing is doing. And that's why I don't have to go suck the dick of some brand in order to keep the fucking lights on. Greg, shout out your Instagram for anybody who's not logged on to Instagram and wants to follow you.
It's Johnston_outdoors.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we'll be back. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And